Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel enginiusmechtech. I hope you're all doing well. Today this is our weekend special episode, weekend special lecture that we are discussing some issues, the global issues apart from our regular lectures. Today we are discussing our lecture on the topic global climate change. We are discussing its challenges, its impact, some solutions and so on. First of all, there's a question that what is climate change? First of all, I will read this. Climate change refers to long-term shift in temperatures and weather pattern. As you all know that today in nowadays there is temperature rise and weathers are changing frequently as compared to 100 years back or 50 years back. There is a huge difference in that era and nowadays. Such shifts can be neutral due to changes in sun's activities or large volcanic eruptions. But since 1880s, human activities have been the main driver of climate change. Human activities like deforestation, like making large buildings and many urbanizations and all these things are the main fact before the climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil and gases. These are the main sources of climate change. Burning fossil fuels generate greenhouse gas emission that act like a blanket wrapped around the earth, trapping the sun's heat and raising the temperatures. This is known as global warming or greenhouse effect. The main greenhouse gases that are causing climate change include carbon dioxide and methane. These come from using gasoline for driving a car or a coal for heating a building. For example, clearing land or cutting down forest can also release carbon dioxide because it is deforestation, and agriculture, oil and gas operations are the major source of methane emission. Methane is a very toxic gas that is present in our atmosphere. Must be stopped. Energy industry, transport, buildings, agriculture, and land use are among the main sectors causing greenhouse gases. These are the main sources of greenhouse gases. Climate change, the long-term shift in global and local weather patterns, primarily caused by carbon emission and the greenhouse effect, is known as climate change. Climate change versus global warming, as these are the terms that use internationally, that are in debates, in topics of discussions, that what is climate change and what is global warming. So climate change is the change occurring in climate patterns, as I have discussed before, and global warming is the rising of the average temperature of the Earth over time. Causes: climate changes are caused by both human activities and naturally occurred, but the global warming is due to the human activities. Major factors affecting climate changes are volcanic eruptions, plate tectonics, changes in oceans, pollution, deforestation, releasing of greenhouse gases. And major things that affect the global warming are emission of greenhouse gases. Major results are new weather patterns, rise in earth temperature, overall temperature, changes in the sea level, disappearing of ice, more frequent drought. But the global warming is due to the rise of temperature, rise of surface temperature of the earth. Now we move toward what are the causes and effects of climate change. So the causes of the climate change includes the rapid industrialization. As you know that industries are made for the production of many things that emit different toxic gases that harm the environment. Energy use like fossil fuels, oil and gases, agricultural practices like sometimes fertilizers emit many gases, deforestation and consumer practices, livestock include the cows and buffaloes, etc. Transportations also emit many carbon dioxide, carbon monoxides, extraction and pollution. Effects: what are the effects of climate change? It rises the temperature of the earth, it rises the sea levels, unpredictable weather patterns, increase in extreme weather events, land degradation, and loss of wildlife and biodiversity. These are the very harmful effects of climate change over the earth, on the planet Earth. What are the social impacts of climate change? Displaced peoples, poverty, loss of livelihood, hunger, malnutrition, increased risk of diseases, global food and water shortages. Global food and water shortages are the major impacts of climate changes. These are some other major causes of climate changes a little bit in detail. First is generating power. Generating electricity and heat by burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil, natural gas causes a large chunk of global emission. Most electricity is still produced from fossil fuels like coal and sometimes gases, natural gases. Only about a quarter come from the wind. Very little bit electricity come from wind and solar and other renewable sources that are not harmful for the climate. Manufacturing goods. Manufacturing and industry produce emission mostly from burning fossil fuels to produce energy for making things like cement, like iron, steel, electronic, plastics, clothes, and other goods. Mining and other industrial processes also release gases. Cutting down forests is also another thing. Cutting down forests to create farms or pastures or for other reasons cause emission since trees, when they are cut, release the carbon they have been storing. Since forests absorb carbon dioxide, destroying for also limit nature's ability to keep emission out of the atmosphere. Using transportation. Most cars, lorries, ships, and planes run on fossil fuels that make transportation a major contributor of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide emission. Road vehicles account for the largest part, but emission from ships, planes continue to grow. Powering buildings. Globally, residential and commercial buildings consume over half of all electricity. As they continue to draw as coal, oil, and natural gas for heating and cooling, they emit significant quantity of greenhouse gases emit that affects the climate changes, that cause the climate change. Now we will move toward the next thing, that what are the main greenhouse gases that harm the climate, that harm the weather, that harm the planet Earth, that harm the life of the human being, that harm the fishes, harm the livestock and all the species on the earth. These major main greenhouses gases are carbon dioxide and its sources fossil fuels combustions, deforestations and cement production. These are the major sources. Sometimes incomplete combustion cause carbon dioxide to produce in more amount. Methane is another gas, a greenhouse gas, and its sources are fossil fuel production and agriculture and landfills. Third one is nitrous oxide. The source of nitrous oxide is fertilizers application in the land applications. Fossil fuels and biomass combustions. Biomass is another source of nitrous oxide. Industrial processes also produce nitrous oxide. Chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. These are emitted from the refrigerants like cooling agents and other things. These are some other greenhouse gases like methane, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, ozone, O3, chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, carbon monoxide, and sulfur dioxide, SO2. This is the cause of acid rains and other things like that. Now, that is another interesting thing on this topic. That climate change, as we are all discussing that temperature is rising over the time, but how it changes. This is clear from the graph that, as you can see here, in 1880s and early 1900s, the average mean temperature, surface temperature of the Earth is approximately minus zero point 0.2 to minus zero point 0.4 and round about it. But over the years, it goes on increasing. Sometimes increase, decrease a little bit, but major is if we smoothen this line, it is increasing order. This is an increasing order. As from 1900 to 2000s and 2000s and so from 2000 onward, the mean surface temperatures cross the zero point 0.5 and zero point 0.6. It starts from minus zero point 0.5. Now it's zero point 0.5. It's a huge rise for the global mean surface temperature. These are some harmful effects of the climate change, visualization of these things, that how it affect the world affect the surface, affect the basically how it's affect the nature. As you can see here in 1938, there are a complete solid ice, icebergs and structures like glaciers-like structures. But after some times, 1981, there are very less glaciers, then more or less, and this is something like other less glaciers. As you can see here, 100 years gap can change completely. In 1906, there is a huge glaciers. At the same time, at the same place, after 100 years, 2004, there is no glaciers. This is, as you can see, this is just a mountain. These pictures are captured on the same time. Now, 2000, this is something different from temperature, but this is also a cause of climate change. In 2011, there are more greenery, more green things like trees and bushes. But in 2014, these are deforestation occurs due to the salination and other effects. Now, climate change and biodiversity. Biodiversity is a variety of all the life on the earth, including animals, plants, and microorganisms. Many impacts of climate changes including drought, bushfires, storms, ocean acidification, sea level rise, and global warming affect the biodiversity in a huge manner. Loss of biodiversity can lead to land degradation, effects on water supply, and changes in the farming productivity. Many plants and animals cannot adopt the effects of climate changes. New South Wales has 100,000 plants and animal species and ecological communities that are at risk of extinction. Now, what is the potential impact of climate change on biodiversity? It's another image that changing the timing in reproduction of animal and plants. Migration pattern of animals are totally changed because this is due to the length of growing seasons. As if there is summer season, the summer season is very large. If there is winter, the time is short, or sometimes it's enlarged. There is not a fixed like a continuous pattern. It's different. Species distribution changes, population sizes changes, and frequency of the past and disease outbreaks. Like these are the things. Sea level rise is another important factor that affects the climate change, that is caused by the climate change. As you can see, this is the tide gauges, and global sea rise is like this. In early 1880s, the sea level is, for example, that zero. But it continues to increase, and now in 2000s and 2020s, it is rise to approximately 254 mm. That's a huge length. 254 mm is 0.25 meters. That is approximately 10 inches. That's a huge thing. Causes of sea level rise. The changes in sea levels is linked with three primary factors that are induced by ongoing global climate change. First is thermal expansion. When water heat up, it expands. Half of the sea level rise over the past 25 years. Melting glaciers. As ice melts, the water is increased and temperatures rise. Loss of Greenland and Antarctica ice sheets. As in mountain and glaciers increase, heat is causing massive ice sheets that cover the Greenland and Antarctica to melt more quickly, so the water level rises. How different nature-based solutions can work together across the landscape to build resilience. In the mountain and forest and watersheds, there is hazard, loss of life assets due to intense wildfires. Solution is that forest management to reduce risk of superfires, landslides and siltation due to intense rainfall. Solution is protect and restore forest to stabilize soil. In rivers and waterland, assets loss and yield reduction and contamination due to flooding. Restore waterlands to absorb the filter flood and waters. Reduce the intermination river flow. Solution is protect and restore forest and watersheds to regulate flow. Farmland. In the farmland, crop failures and livestock loss due to drought. Agroforestry to make better use of soil, moisture and reduce the evaporation. Lost yield of reduction transport disruption due to flooding. Protect and restore forest to slow water runoff. Urban flooding due to intense rainfall. Restore watercourses, expand green spaces, and introduce porous surface to reduce flood risk. And heat stresses due to urban heat island. Iceland's expand green spaces in and around the cities, and coast hazard loss of land livelihood and assets due to rising sea levels, restore coastal waterlands, including enhance the engineered measures. Here the engineering can be used, and loss of life asset due to storm and surges, protect and restoration mangroves marshes and reefs to the buffer coast to absorb flood waters. Here are some agreements, some steps that overall the mankind efforts to address the climate change in overall the world. In 1992 climate conventions, when countries agreed to formulate planned action to return emission to 1990 levels. In 2008 and 2000 to 2012, the first commitment period of the Kyoto Protocol, with 37 developed countries and the European Community committed to reduce greenhouse gases emission to an average of 5% against 1990 levels. In 2013 to 20, the second commitment period of Kyoto Protocol, developed countries committed to reduce greenhouse gas emission by at least 18% below 1990 levels. However, the composition of countries in the second commitment period is different from the first period. In 2015, adoption of Paris Agreement that includes nationally determined contributions and indices of countries with ambitious long-term measures to curb greenhouse gas emission. After 2020, Paris Agreement enters into the force. Now we will discussing some innovative technologies like renewable energy sources, solar power advancements, thin solar films, wind energy innovations like we utilize the wind energy for the vertical axis wind turbines for the efficiency of wind power systems like wind turbines. Carbon capture and storage (CCS). Direct air capture technologies like DACs aim to remove carbon dioxide directly from the atmosphere, offering the potential solution to reduce greenhouse gases. Enhanced weathering. This involves accelerating natural processes to capture CO2 by spreading crushed minerals on the Earth's surface. Energy storage. Advanced battery technologies like are used, hydrogen energy storages, smart grids and energy management, blockchain for energy transactions. Blockchain technology facilitates transparent and secure peer-to-peer energy transactions. Demand and responsive systems. Climate resilience agriculture, precision agriculture utilizing sensors, satellites, and AI precision. Genetically modified crops, these are from the agricultural side. Green building materials that biodegradable plastics, innovative materials made from plant-based sources are being developed to replace traditional plastics. Carbon negative concrete that absorb more CO2 during the production that it emits, contributing to a net reduction in greenhouse gases emission. There are many research and potential breakthroughs: AI for climate modeling, ocean-based solutions, advanced geoengineering techniques, biotechnology for carbon removal using genetically modified microorganisms and plants to enhance carbon and soils and forests, next generation nuclear power, sustainable transportation, advanced electric vehicles, etc. And these are the CRISPR Cas9 for climate resilient crops. So these are some research and innovation ideas that can be used. So move toward next. So that's all for about climate change and its challenges, its solutions, innovations, and etc. I hope you like the video, and I am trying my best to give you the latest knowledge about the topic, and I hope you have done it, you have gained it completely. If you like the video, do subscribe my channel, enginiusmechtech. This is, you can write it as in this way or directly like enginius_mechtech. So, thanks for your time. If you have any queries, put your questions in the comment box. I will reply you. Till then, meet you in the next video. I hope you are waiting for it. Take care.